first topic is related to foreign trade policy. Related to the foreign trade policy. Anybody who understand what is the foreign trade policy? What is the essence of this document, foreign trade policy? Essence of this document, foreign trade policy document. What is the importance? One essence, that is the objective. There is a difference between aim and objective. The objective, as you said, is to increase the exports. Okay. What is the aim? To no, I am saying aim. See, without aim, can there be an objective? My question is, what is the difference between aim and objective? Aim, to impart quality education. Objective, to ensure that maximum people pass UPSC. So aim is always a broader perspective and objective is a targeted objective. That you need to understand, it is a targeted approach. So when I am talking about the aim of foreign policy, what is the aim of foreign policy? To increase the interaction, increase the trade interaction. See, what happens is, in my foreign trade policy, you have a nuclear policy. You have a nuclear policy in which India says no first use policy. So the world has got a message, though India is a nuclear country, it will not use that nuclear against me, nuclear assets against me if I do not attack that country nuclearly. So this is very clear. The moment you release your foreign trade policy, the countries which are interested in doing trade with you will get a message in what areas India is wanting to trade, what are the prohibited items where India is wanting to trade, what are the prohibited items, what is the openness of the economy, all these dimensions are given in the foreign trade policy. So that is the reason why foreign trade policy is a reflection of willingness to trade. Reflection of willingness to trade. This we have to understand. So at regular intervals, the foreign trade policy is updated. India's last foreign trade policy was enacted in the year 2015 and it was applicable till 2020. Now what the government has decided is, because I gave a time span, see, try to understand one thing, don't think from a student perspective, think from a businessman perspective. Say for example, you are dealing in gems and jewelry. You were a businessman dealing in gems and jewelry. Very controversial, what you call, product to deal with, very controversial product, believe me. Now in this policy you allowed the trade. He is always bothered in the next trade policy, will the trade in gems and jewelry will be allowed or not. So there is an amount of skepticism or speculation that will come into the market. So now what the government is saying, I will not give any time period for my foreign trade policy. So my next foreign trade policy, which has come in 2023, it will remain forever. That's what he says, it will remain forever and I will only carry out certain modifications. I will carry out only certain modifications to my foreign trade policy. So that is how earlier it means that there is no sunset clause. This word is used in economics called sunset clause. Generally, if you introduce a policy with a definite birth date and end date, it means that it has a sunset clause. Say for example 2015 to 2020. So the sunset time for the earlier policy was 2020. So any policy that is open ended, it will, you had your 5-year plans, no? It means 5-year plan is also an example of a sunset clause. At the end of 5th year, that plan will completely change. we will see a complete overhaul. Okay? So the same way now he has decided the foreign trade policy will not have a sunset clause, it will be an what you call extended to in times immemorial. I will only tweak certain changes. I will only tweak certain changes. What is the advantage of doing that? Very important. What is the advantage? You have reduced speculation. You have reduced speculation. You have reduced suspicion. Try to understand the larger picture here. You have reduced the speculation and the suspicion by creating this. So, if a question says what are the various steps that the government has taken, please make a note. What are the various steps the government has taken to infuse confidence, in India's foreign trade policy, to infuse confidence in India's foreign trade policy. Very important. See, understand, foreign trade policy is a very important policy document of any country. We said World Bank has a technical assistance job, IMF has a technical assistance job. So, all these government entities, international entities are looking for what you have written in your foreign trade policy. If any dimension of your foreign trade policy, if it is not in sync with the global standards, it will immediately get international attention. The moment you say, I will stop importing iron and steel from the world, how will the world respond? Will they accept it easily? No. So, that is how whenever you make a foreign trade policy, lot of importance is given in the entire international structure what is happening in the world. It is not just like making some policy and releasing in the world. Why? Because in a globalized world order, and when you are very closely knit in a globalized world order, all your decisions will have impact on the global trade. So, that is the reason why you have to be very careful. In the past, India's certain schemes were challenged by the USA in World Trade Organization, WTO's appellate body. For example, your MEIS scheme, please make a note of this, Export Oriented Unit Scheme, the Special Economic Zone schemes, these were all under the WTO, they were challenged by what you call US in WTO. WTO mein there is a body called appellate body, dispute resolution body, appellate body. So, under this all these were challenged. See, in economics you would have learnt about a word called export subsidy. Anybody? What is this export subsidy? कौन बताएगा? What is this export subsidy? Come on. Export subsidy कौन बताएगा? Pujita. What is export subsidy? Why it is very important dimension of our international trade? Nee, see, export subsidy is giving support to your export entities with an intention to give them edge over others in international market. Give them edge over other products in the international markets. Try to understand this. If you understand this, your foreign trade policy chapter is complete. One topic, export subsidy. See, our Indian agricultural exports are not able to compete with the Australian exports, European exports, New Zealand exports and Japanese exports. What is the reason? कौन बताएगा? Export subsidy, historical background, 1986-87. Export subsidies, come on. अरे chapter on WTO is over, no? बोलो, export subsidies. Very important time frame. Naveen. No idea? See, export subsidy, as I told you, support given to the entities with an intention to give them edge over other products in the international market. Our basmati rice has got international export value, we all know. Tomorrow the government says the basmati rice producers or the farmers, is agricultural taxed in our country? No. For example, just for the explanation part, assume that agriculture is a taxable economic activity, but the government suddenly says all the basmati producers or the farmers need not pay any tax to the government. What has happened? You have given an undue advantage to the exporters of the basmati rice. Now what happens? The moment tax component is removed, what will happen? The basmati rice that you have produced will be competitive in the international market. It means the price will be very low. When the other countries are able to produce 1 kg of basmati in 100 rupees after paying taxes to their government, you are capable of producing the same basmati for 60 rupees. So this is how what has happened, a competitiveness, an edge over others got created. So that is the reason why whenever you provide subsidies to anything which is supposed to be exported, immediately the World Trade Organization and most importantly this fellow will get alerted, immediately he will get alerted. So that is how whenever you are taking out foreign trade policy, the world is watching, are you releasing any export subsidies or not. See, already the people are crying. First, agriculture is not taxed in our country. 2, electricity is free for agriculture. Lot of support mechanism the government provides. MSP is a hugely debated topic in WTO. The minimum support price what the government is guaranteeing to our farmers is highly debated in WTO. So already people are crying related to foreign trade policy. If you give more and more support on export subsidy items, the problems will increase. Okay. Now let us come back to the article. What does the policy says? The new foreign trade policy. The policy has replaced the old policy that has been in place since 2015. And what is the aim? Almost triple India's goods and services exports to 2 trillion by 2030. Please underline the statement, 2 trillion from an estimated 760 billion in 2022 to 2023. So more than double. Okay. Now India's global share in merchandise exports and services exports is very low and the government aims to grow it to the range of 7% to 10%. It means if there is in the international world trade, India's export is much lesser than even 3% today. The government is targeting to take it to 7% to 10% as per this new foreign trade policy. This is the objective. Then the new policy will have no sunset clause. I told you there is no sunset clause. Earlier it was 2015 to 2020. Now this policy does not have any end date, right? And will be tweaked based on the emerging world trade scenario and industry feedback. While the policy will be open-ended, the schemes sanctioned under it will be time-bound. Whatever scheme that the government will sanction under the policy, they will be time-bound only. Very important, next line. There are no major new schemes barring a one-time amnesty under the existing, very important scheme. One-time amnesty, understand this word. One-time amnesty. What is the meaning of this, Gautami? One-time amnesty. One-time waiver. Amnesty is kind of waiver. For what? For the advance authorization and export promotion capital goods. Export promotion capital goods. इसके सामने he is using the word advance authorization. Advance authorization. See, try to understand this. Very important. See, whenever you are importing certain raw materials, this is your factory. This factory is in India. It is in special economic zone. What is a special economic zone? Zones that are economic zones that are created purely from the perspective of manufacturing certain goods which are purely export oriented. It means anything that is produced here cannot be sold in the domestic market. They have to be forcefully sold only in the international market, right? So this is selling. Selling means exporting, okay? And you cannot sell anything in the domestic market. And when the raw material is coming, if the raw material is coming, whatever the raw material is coming, you are exempting certain duties on them. Duty is basically the primary duty is the customs duty. So you are advance authorizing. What you are advance authorizing? You are advance authorizing by exempting the customs duty so that they are forced to only sell in the international market. So one time exemption has been given on this. What does it mean? Who will tell? What does it mean? Whatever dues were supposed to be paid under this customs duty, whatever has come inside, one time exemption has been given by the government. But this was not the case. After this kind of exemptions will not be provided. You have to perforce sell your goods in the international market. Try to understand what used to happen was, in the scheme of MEIS, what the government used to say for example, you imported raw materials, and you happened to pay the customs duty. For some reasons you were forced to pay the customs duty. Say you paid 2% customs duty. You paid 2% customs duty for a manufacturing a product that was supposed to be sold in the international market. Now because you were forced to pay 2% customs duty, in this value that you are exporting, you will get a 2% credit slip. This 2% credit slip can be used for paying other duties also. So basically you are getting some credits here. This is equivalent to the value of money that you have paid as customs. The US dragged India for this also to WTO, and WTO gave orders to India to immediately stop this, and we had to stop this. So like this, lot of issues, because they feel that for 2% for you may sound very small amount, but in the international market 0.5% also makes a huge difference, because the products are purchased in bulk. Say if somebody is purchasing 1000 tons, and if you reduce 2% means, say for example the product value was 100 rupees per kg, so 2 rupees per kg, 1000 tons, just imagine the amount of money that immediately gets involved. So these kind of schemes were being provided by the government earlier, which has been now stopped. So as a last measure before closing this, they gave one time exemption. After this, these kind of exemptions will not be given. That's the logic. Okay? Next, very important, merchanting trade. This you have to understand, importance from prelims perspective this year. Merchanting trade. See, whenever a trade has to happen, see this, whenever a trade has to happen, this is our port, either the goods come in this or the goods come in this port, the western port or the eastern port. The goods come to the port, they are unloaded in the port and they enter the Indian market. This is the procedure, yes or no? The goods come to the port, from the ship they are unloaded into the port, and from there it goes to the hinterland, main Indian market. Now merchanting trade is basically a mechanism where the goods will come in a ship up till a point, a ship will start from here up till a point, the loading unloading will happen here, and from here itself without entering India it may go to any other part of the world. So it means we are trying to develop entry port trade kind of a business where we are not allowing the goods to come to the port. A ship is going deep into the waters, my own waters, because it is within my exclusive economic zone. The unloading, loading is happening, then they are diverted to other part of the world. So this is called merchanting trade. This is purely intended to increase your, that's all. Because what has happened, it did not come here. It means it does not have to pay any customs duty because it did not come to your port. These are the advantages of entry port trade. Entry port trade. So that is how you have to understand. Now from here itself I will send. That is why the objective is to increase the for example, there is a country here that does not have a good relationship with country here, but India has a good relationship with this country. He is willing to trade with India but not with him, but India has good relationship with him also and him also. India will import from him and from him he will send it to him. That is the logic. That is the logic. So that is how you, did I manufacture anything here? No, I only facilitated something between two countries. That is the only role that I have played. Okay? That is called merchanting trade. Very important from prelims perspective. In merchanting trade, the goods will not come to the port. The goods will not come to the port. The primary intention is to avoid customs duty. That is the primary intention. Okay? Next line very important. 4 towns in Uttar Pradesh: Faridabad, Moradabad, Mirzapur and Varanasi. Please make a note of all the 4 places. They are important for specific things. Faridabad is important for apparels. What you call Moradabad is important for handicrafts. Mirzapur is important for handmade carpets and handlooms, and Varanasi for handmade carpets and Varanasi for handlooms. So these are the 4. They will give you match the following. So 4 towns were announced as centers of export excellence. Very important, centers for export excellence. The policy also plans to launch a special advance authorization scheme for clothing and apparel sector. Special advance authorization, same that 2% credit, the 2% credit. Okay. Challenges and all are self-explanatory. Try to come to one. Initiatives for improving the exports, what India has done. Remission of duties or taxes on export products, very important. RODTEP, remission means exemption, remission of duties or taxes on export products. Then rebate of state and central taxes and levies. Rebate is a discount, basically a discount. First is remission, complete foregoing of duties or taxes. Third is merchandise exports from India scheme, the MEIS scheme that I have what you call. These are the steps that were taken in the past by the government to increase the exports from our country. So these are the steps taken in the past. Very important, RODTEP. It is a fully automated route for input tax credit in the GST to help increase exports in India. So whatever tax that you have paid for manufacturing something, see in this there is a high probability the raw materials are not only imported, you might be taking some raw materials from the local also, yes or no? From the local market also you can take certain raw materials, and at the time of purchasing raw materials, if you have paid any taxes, if you have paid GST, then that entire amount can be claimed as input tax credit. Say if you have purchased raw material worth 10,000 and if you have paid a GST tax of 10%, 1000 rupees, whenever you will do that sale to here, you can get 1000 rupees rebate from the government, so that the input cost to this factory will be lowered. When the input cost will be lowered, the cost of production will go low. So that is how his product will be more beneficial in the international trade market. That is the logic. Okay? Chalo. The next article, CERT. Anybody remembering what is this? CERT India, Computer Emergency Response Team. Cyber security class agar yaad hai, the CERT India. Along with this, there were certain other institutions, no? NCCC. National Cyber Crime Coordination Center. Then you had NCIIPC, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. Same way you also have CERT India. See, like this we said CERT is also there for sector specific CRT railways, CRT defense, CRT space, like this CRT sector specific CRTs is also there. Sector specific CRTs is also there. Now try to understand, when CRT India, what is the article? CRT India may be put out of RTI. It means they are thinking of removing the CRT under the folds of right to information. Important homework for you: which all bodies, entities or institutions are outside the purview of RTI. 100% a question will come in prelims. They will give a list of institutions or bodies or entities that are exempted under RTI. So you should make a list, and you have to know that CRT also has been may, question mark may. So try to understand, till such time it does not become, it is still may only. Okay? Now the DEPT has reviewed a proposal from the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology to include CRT in the second schedule of the RTI Act. Very important. This is where the list of entities that are excluded is written. Second schedule of RTI Act, which deals with exempted organizations like the CBI and the Border Security Force. Okay. This schedule 2 of the RTI Act contains the names of intelligence and security organizations which are exempt from the purview of the Act. So now what will happen? The exemption would allow the CRT to reject any application for information even on policy related matters, not only on intelligence matters, even on, not only on intelligence related matters, but also on policy related matters also. So they are not duty bound to divulge information. Right to Information Act is very important from examination perspective. Please Google about it thoroughly. Recent amendments to the RTI Act are also very important. ठीक है? CRT के बारे में दिया है. We all know it is basically an organization that is what you call created with an intention to deal with the cyber security threats in our country. CRT India. ठीक है? Very important. They are talking about NCIIPC also, which is under the NTRO, which is under the PM's office. So the hierarchical structure of this is, he is under the NTRO, who is under the PM office, PM's office. So this hierarchy is also important to understand. ठीक है? चलो, the next article. Recently we have seen the CPTPP, very important, Trans-Pacific Partnership, CPTPP, the Comprehensive and Progressive Agreement for Trans-Pacific Partnership. Very important from IR perspective for your examination. Please by heart the name of countries. 11 countries are part of your TPP, Trans-Pacific Partnership, Comprehensive and Progressive Pacific Partnership, which happens to be a free trade bloc, It is a free trade bloc. Okay. Member countries: Australia, Brunei, Canada, Chile, Japan, Malaysia, Mexico, New Zealand, Peru, Singapore and Vietnam. Very important. Though America is a member, what you call a country which has got Pacific Ocean to its coast, but it is still not a member of TPP. If you remember, when Donald Trump was the president, he decided not to join TPP. Very important. Okay? Britain will be the first new member since the entity was created in 2018 and the first European country in the bloc. So it means now, is Britain having coast with the Pacific? No. It means now they have decided to extend the membership of this what you call grouping beyond Pacific also. Okay? So the UK sees this as a boost for its economic growth and geopolitical reasons. The UK expects growth of 1.8 billion pounds each year over the long term. The UK also believes membership will give it a role in setting regional trade rules over the coming decades. It could mean the UK and other members preventing China's future accession to the bloc. Try to understand. The larger picture is UK does not want. So for that to happen, first it has to become the member. Why? Because China is seriously contemplating of joining the TPP. China is seriously contemplating of joining the TPP. It is basically the US withdrew only because of this reason. US said China does not have any borders with the Pacific, but China said I very much have. If you remember the 9-dash line, it spoke about South China Sea and its southward projection into the Pacific Ocean. That is how China believes that I still have a access to Pacific Ocean. The US said no, you does not have. That is the reason why US withdrew from this TPP. Okay? Chalo. Merchant UPI transactions, very important from economy. Merchant UPI transactions, try to understand. See, there was a system in place called merchant discount rate. This was in place, merchant discount rate. Try to understand this. You don't have, you can read your article on your own. Whenever you used to use card for making some payment, if you remember, the merchant will say, sir 2% extra lagega. Yes or no? Whenever you use card for making any payment, the merchant will say 2% to 4% extra lagega. Technically, usually the merchant is supposed to bear this cost of trade, but what happens? They will palm it off to the customers. You would have believed or questioned, on one side the government is talking about digitization, and on the other side you are punishing somebody who is trying to make payment through a digital medium like card or something. Now what the government has decided, why only card? Even if you are using UPI as a medium of what you call payment, still you have to pay a percentage of 1.1% of merchant discount. Now try to understand the larger picture. See, मोदी का और निर्मला सीतारमन का मकसद एक ही है, कितना पैसा पब्लिक से निकाल सकते हैं. Why? Because they have to fill in the fiscal deficit, and to fill in the fiscal deficit, the major source is taxes. For introducing a new tax, it has to go to the parliament. For introducing a new tax, it has to go to the parliament. For carrying out certain amendments in the existing, it doesn't have. So they apply their head and try to take as much money as possible from you. So earlier what you were paying only for cash card, now you have to pay only also for UPI. But one thing that you need to understand is, it has to be paid for prelims perspective, transactions above, this you keep it in mind, okay, from prelims perspective. So earlier the MDR that was for card, now it is applicable even for UPI transactions, okay, very important. And any PPIs, who are these PPIs? Prepaid payment instruments. Which are these prepaid payment instruments? Your Paytm wallet, your Amazon Pay, then your Airtel Pay. These are all what you call prepaid payment instruments. So if you are using this platform through the UPI transactions, if the cost is more than 2000, you have to pay merchant discount rate of, I think, 1.1%. It is from 0.5 to 1.1%. Okay? So this is the recent amendment in the change. Okay? Benefits and all you can read through it. It is self-explanatory. Next, very important, quality control orders for fibers. Please try to understand, very important from agriculture point of view. Quality control order, very important, one of the biggest responsibilities of Bureau of Indian Standards. The biggest responsibility of Bureau of Indian Standards is the quality control order. They have released a new quality control order on fiber. Fiber is a very important ingredient in which industry? Now people are talking about using rose petals as fiber, using orange peels as fiber for making cloth. This will come very soon, this will come. This is going to happen. How see, the commercialization of this may take time, but it will come to the market very soon. Okay? Basically certain amount of dyeing process and all has to be used. Why? Because this is considered to be more eco-friendly and more human-friendly also. See, polyester has a longer period of decay, yes or no? But anything that is produced out of this will get decayed very soon. So it has got environmental dimensions also. Okay? Now, recently the quality control orders have been issued for cotton, polyester and viscose by the Bureau of Indian Standards. For ensuring availability of quality products to consumers, the QCOs are issued by various ministries, departments of Government of India in exercise of the powers conferred by Section 16 of the Bureau of Indian Standards Act 2016, stipulating conformity of the products to Indian standards. Okay? So the Section 16 to Bureau of Indian Standards 2016 is very important. So it can be issued by various ministries or departments who are in the field of this particular products, right? In the recent issuance, some QCOs were revised and made mandatory for a few products. The order also mandates international manufacturers of these fibers who supply to India are also mandated to get a certificate from BIS. Please underline, the international manufacturers are also obliged to get a certificate from the BIS who are dealing with cotton, polyester and viscose material. These are the three materials, right? If you see the state of Indian fiber imports, India imports 50 to 60,000 tons of fiber from nearly 20 countries. In case of polyester, 90,000 tons of polyester fiber and 1.25 lakh tons of polyester partially oriented yarn are imported annually. This is very important from your examination point of view. Next, duty exemptions on rare diseases. Whatever next article is on certain duty exemptions on medicines. Duty exemptions on medicines. Exemptions on medicines which are imported for curing rare diseases. What is a rare disease? What is a rare disease? Flip over the page, you will get the answer. What is a rare disease? You have to flip once more. Yeah. What does the WHO says? The World Health Organization says, if in 10,000 population, if 6.5 to 10 people, if they get a disease, it is considered to be a rare disease. Very important. It is considered to be a rare disease. Okay? So this is how the WHO defines the rare disease. What it says, the article, if you read the first line of the article, it says that given full exemption from basic customs duty. Earlier 10% of basic custom duty was levied. Read the article carefully. The line says full exemption of from the basic customs duty on all drugs and food for special medical purposes imported for personal use for treatment. Very important word, personal use for treatment. If you import individually personal use for treatment, then you are exempted from the 10% customs duty. Imported for what purpose? For treatment of all rare diseases listed under the National Policy for Rare Disease 2021. So now homework for you is, which are all these rare diseases? You need to make a list of these rare diseases. Very, very important. I think some of the rare diseases they have given in the last paragraph. According to the Organization for Rare Diseases India, rare diseases include inherited cancers, autoimmune disorders, congenital malformations, Hirschsprung's disease, Gaucher disease, cystic fibrosis, muscular dystrophies and lysosomal storage disorders. So these are some of the diseases that are classified as rare diseases as per the Organization for Rare Diseases India. Please Google about this entity also. Organization for Rare Diseases India. Okay? The exemption, how does the new duty exemption work? The exemption has been granted by the Central Board of Indirect Taxes and Customs. Don't get confused Central Board of Direct Taxes ke saath, because it is on a product, it will be an indirect tax. Okay? Central Board for what you call indirect taxes and customs by substituting drugs, medicines or food for special medical purposes instead of drugs or medicines. So they have carried out a small change. Now in order to avail this exemption, the individual importer has to produce a certificate from the central or state director health services or district medical officer / civil surgeon of the district. Drugs and medicines generally attract basic customs duty of 10%, while some categories of life saving drugs, vaccines attract a concessional rate of 5% or 0 customs duty. So to avail this, he has to get a certificate from certain entities. The next article is on another international organization called Shanghai Cooperation Organization. Huh.
By importing these medicines for the rare diseases, so there will be no impact in the Indian market, sir?
Personal use. See, it is not that the medicines of these rare diseases is not available in India. May be available in India, but your trust on the foreign medicine is higher and you have the capacity to pay. You have the capacity to pay and your trust is higher on them. You know there is a culture of taking multivitamins imported from abroad. This culture has developed in India, getting multivitamins from abroad. They feel that they are getting certain superior benefits of taking multivitamins that have been produced abroad. So like that, people have the capacity to pay. If they have got certain rare diseases, they want to believe the science or the research of the Western country. So that is the reason why. It will not have any impact on the market. Why? Because in the market locally produced medicine is already available, or the medicine that has been taxed is already available. So that is how. See why? Because you have to understand the process of getting exemption is thoda tricky. Going to the central or the state government meeting the health director is not you walk in and he will go and sign. It has its own issues involved. So try to understand. So for the people, bigger people, they want to import. See the cost here goes very high. The cost here goes very high. What 60 tablets bottle you get imported what you call multivitamin tablet, in the same amount for 3 years you can eat multivitamin tablets produced in India. Only for 60 tablets, that is the cost variation is very high. So that is the reason why they want to give this exemption. Okay? Yeah. SCO very important. Recently Saudi Arabia also joined SCO. So with this what has happened? Now what is the indication of Saudi Arabia joining SCO? What is the indication of a country like Saudi Arabia joining SCO? See, try to understand. Gradually, SCO is taking a shape of not a pure alliance, but yes, in some ways taking a shape of alliance. And the statement of the entity also says that it is a political, international and a military alliance. This is the statement of SCO, the first statement of SCO. Political, international, political alliance, military alliance. Now, with Saudi Arabia coming into it, it means that the tilt of geopolitics is shifting from US to, see, ये दोनों पक्के दोस्त है, इस बात को समझो, ये दोनों पक्के दोस्त है, इस बात को समझो. Small aberration in the relationship as of now. That is the reason why this guy has moved closer to. He knows when I lost my friend, my friend's friend, my friend's enemy is my दुश्मन का दोस्त कौन है? When your neighbor is there, your neighbor's neighbor is your natural ally, your neighbor is your natural enemy. This is logic. Your neighbor is your natural enemy, your neighbor's neighbor is your natural ally. That's how your neighbor is China, natural enemy, his neighbor Russia is your natural ally. Your neighbor is Pakistan, his neighbor is Afghanistan. So obviously in the absence of a democratic government in Afghanistan, Iran became your natural ally. That is the reason why you got access to that Chabahar port of Iran and all. So that is how the neighbor's neighbor will become your ally. But यहाँ पे दुश्मन का दुश्मन will become दोस्त, दुश्मन का दुश्मन, because he has become your दुश्मन for the time being though. दुश्मन का दुश्मन becomes suddenly your दोस्त. So that is the reason. See, many countries have applied and in the queue waiting to get admission into SCO. This guy applied very recently and immediately got the admission. It means that China wants to play the tactics of tilt of the geopolitical world order. This you need to understand. Okay? So this is the only, and the how many countries are there in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, that is important for you. Currently has 8 members: China, India, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Russia, Pakistan and Uzbekistan also. Certain other countries have also recently joined. Please make a list of those countries. This is not mentioned here. Other countries have also joined SCO. Please try to name them. Anybody? Huh? Please make a box. Recently joined countries. Recently joined countries of SCO. Countries of SCO. Just see if UAE is also there. Just see if UAE is also there. Important. Question mark likho. Okay? Just see. You will get an idea what's happening there. New India literacy program. Very important from the governance perspective. New India literacy program. New India literacy program. India literacy program. Very important from prelims perspective. The first and foremost thing that you need to understand from the prelims perspective is, one, it is for the age group of 15 years and above. This you need to understand. Your Nipun was there, no? 15 years and above. Nipun is for very small children, class 3 if I remember it correctly. 15 years and above. This is one. Secondly, it is online mode. Secondly, it is online mode. Thirdly, very important, it is talking about foundational literacy. These are the 3 words. तीनों वर्ड दे देगा. He will give in the option New India literacy program. he will give Nipun also in the option, he will give new education policy also in the option. The correct answer is New India Literacy Program. Try to understand. Okay? And the 5 components of the scheme, try to please by heart the 5 components of the scheme: foundational literacy and numeracy, critical life skills, vocational skills development, basic education and continuing education. These are the 5 basic components of the New India Literacy Program. ठीक है? निपुण भारत 26 to 27 तक है, basically to ensure universal literacy and numeracy for class 3 children by 2026-2027. Nipun Bharat, very important. Next, again, national list of essential medicines, very important. The national list of essential medicines. Recently, the National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority announced a change in the wholesale price index for the year 2023 in accordance with the Drug Price Control Order 2013 or DPCO 2013. Now, very important from prelims perspective, the wholesale price index in this regard is released by the Office of Economic Advisor, Ministry of Finance. Very, very important. Please make a note. This WPI is released by the Office of the Economic Advisor, Department of Industry and Internal Trade, which is under the Department of Industry and Internal Trade. Department of Industry and Internal Trade. Internal Trade, Ministry of Finance. ठीक है? See, try to understand, there is something known as scheduled drugs and non-scheduled drugs. The drugs whose price is controlled are called, whose price is controlled, the drugs whose price is controlled are called scheduled drugs, Generally, the cost of these drugs should not increase by more than 10%, but because of the WPI released by this fellow, the cost has gone up. So, that is the reason why the cost of scheduled drugs has also gone up. Otherwise, the cost of scheduled drugs cannot cross more than 10% in a year. That is the logic here. Try to understand. The drug pricing mechanism, drugs sold in India are categorized in scheduled and non-scheduled drugs. The drugs included in the NLEM, National List of Essential Medicines, are called scheduled drugs. Their prices are regulated by the NPPA, National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority, which caps their prices and changes them only based on wholesale price index based inflation. The drugs, other drugs that are called non-scheduled drugs, and their prices can increase up to 10% every year. It means the scheduled drugs, there can be change in the cost of scheduled drugs based on only change in the WPI index, based on the wholesale price based index. इसके ऊपर inflation में कुछ change होगा, only then the change will happen here. And in case of non-scheduled drugs, 10% change can happen at any given point of time. Here the change happened, why? Because the WPI index changed by 12.2%. So, it even crossed the 10% for the non-scheduled drug. That is what is the article saying. This year's increase is because of 12.12% annual change in the WPI, 12.12%. Okay. So, that is how the scheduled drugs cost has increased more than the non-scheduled drugs. Primary result is the increase in the WPI index inflation of the scheduled drugs. Okay. So, that is why it has increased. Okay. Yeah. Next is captive employment, very important concept. Captive employment. What is this captive employment? In general sense, captive employment is nothing but imparting certain skills, with an intention to get some jobs. Simple. This is called captive employment. Whatever skills that are being employed to somebody, given to somebody, are with an intention to give them job. For example, carpentry, pottery. These are skill sets that are developed to ensure that somebody can do something for their living. These are called captive employment things, right? Is a first of its kind initiative aimed at addressing the vision of a dynamic and demand based skilling ecosystem, catering to the requirements of industry partners, ensuring sustainable placements for rural poor youth. Please underline the word rural poor youth, not for urban rich youth, rural poor youth. Okay, this is very important. And the Union Ministry for Rural Development, please underline this, initiates the captive employment initiative under the Deen Dayal Upadhyay Kaushal Yojana, Upadhyay's Kaushal Yojana, very important. Gram Kaushal Yojana, Gram or Gramin Kaushal Yojana. About that also they have given. It says that the initiative is a shot in the arm for the DDU GKY program, assuring post-training placement of candidates for a minimum of 6 months with a minimum CTC of rupees 10,000. ठीक है, तो 6 months के अंदर 10,000 का job इनको दिलवाएंगे. Please try to see the last paragraph. Demand-led skill training aimed at rural poor youth between 15 and 35 years of age is provided. Mandatory coverage of socially advantaged, please underline this word, mandatory coverage is there of the socially advantaged groups, SC, STs, minority and women is also there. ठीक है, women, socially disadvantaged groups, that's how the SC, STs, the minority and the women. ठीक है. Next is your institutes of eminence, very important. Institutes of eminence, try to understand this. Institutes of excellence or eminence, here it is called eminence. Recently a report was published by Indian Express highlighting that autonomy promised under the Institute of Eminence scheme has remained only on paper. It means whatever the institutes were classified as institutes of eminence, please make a list, institutes of eminence in India, institutes of eminence in India. When this scheme was announced, the government said that we will not interfere in certain dimensions of functioning of these institutions. But however, the Indian Express report highlights that this whatever was promised to the institutes of eminence, it has remained only on papers. It means that government is directly or indirectly interfering in the functioning of these institutions. Okay? The Institutes of Eminence scheme under the Union Home Resource Ministry, Human Resource Ministry, which is it, the HRM, aims to project Indian institutes to global recognition. These selected institutes under the scheme enjoy complete academic and administrative autonomy. Just understand two. One is academic autonomy, and second is the administrative autonomy. Both autonomies were promised to them in their functioning, but only it has remained on paper. That is what is the Indian Express report is highlighting. Only higher education institutions currently placed in the top 500 of the global rankings or top 50 of the national institutional ranking are eligible to apply for the eminence tag. Either internationally within 500 or nationally within 50, they only classify to get a tag of eminence to them. The private institutions of eminence can also come up as greenfield ventures provided the sponsoring organization submits a convincing perspective plan for 15 years. The selection is made through challenge method mode by the empowered expert committee constituted for the purpose. Challenge method mode. Please underline this word, challenge method mode. What is this challenge method mode? What is this? Anybody? What is this challenge method mode? It says the selection is made through challenge method mode by the empowered expert committee constituted for the purpose. What is this challenge method mode? Huh? In what? Competition in what? What is this challenge method mode? Competition in what? Placements, competition in research paper publications. Research paper publications, very, very important. And international accreditation. These are the three dimensions that need to be satisfied in the challenge method mode. Very important. Okay? So, one most important of all these things is research paper publication mode is also very important dimension, challenge method. Okay? So, they have to prove that in the next so many years my people will be, and one more important dimension here is how many PhD certificates. So, these are the 3-4 dimensions of challenging an institution which is a private institution to be recognized as an institution of excellence. Okay? This is what it is. Next is IMF bailout. Finally, our friend gets the money. Who is this friend? IMF gives finally the bailout package to Sri Lanka. So, the moment this happens, it is important from prelims perspective. Sri Lanka gets the bailout package. So, one Washington consensus, those 10 points you should be aware. Washington consensus. Washington consensus. What are these? Washington consensus. What is the name given to if some conditions are put forward by the World Bank? Conditionalities. We call that conditionalities, and for this institution we call it Washington consensus. Okay? IMF agrees to consider the bailout plan for Sri Lanka amid an economic crisis. Finally, they get 3 billion bailout plan for Sri Lanka's struggling economy. Plays a key role in promoting global economic stability through its policies, especially bailouts which have a significant impact on the global economy and on individual countries around the world. IMF usually imposes conditions such as structural reforms as a condition on countries before it lends the loan. Certain other important information related to IMF which is generic in nature, please read through it. Okay? Essential Commodities Act. Anything want to add? Okay. Essential Commodities Act. Next article is related to Essential Commodities Act. See, generally it so happens before UPSC exam is conducted, lot of economic activity happens. This UPSC exam prelims can be scheduled in January also. Understand the logic of having this examination in April, May. Earlier it used to happen in April, May, March end tak ho jata tha. Reason why? Because the moment the budget is around the corner, the moment economic survey is around the corner, the moment the financial year ending and the new financial year starting is in the corner, lot of economic activities happen. So, that is the reason why putting this examination immediately or closer to this gives lot of scope for UPSC, forcing the students to know what is happening around in the economic landscape, in the immediate vicinity of the economic landscape. So, try to understand why these what you call papers or subjects become extremely important, because once you become bureaucrats, this is what you all also have to do. Some bureaucrat would have worked, no? behind this article Essential Commodities Act. So he also would have done the homework कि कैसे बनना है, क्या बनाना है, which commodities to be put, all these dimensions would have been homeworked by a particular bureaucrat. ठीक है. Recently the government announced the formation of a committee to monitor the stock of tuar dal held by the importers, mills, stockists and traders in order to prevent hoarding and speculation. Now what are they doing? One particular item called tuar dal. The government wanted to know what is the stock availability with the importers, what is the availability with the mill owners, stockists and traders, the wholesale stockists. Stockists are wholesale traders and lastly the retail traders. The government wants to know. Why? Because the government is feeling that they are stocking and holding with an intention to disturb the supply. If the demand remains constant, supply is reduced, what will happen to the price? The price will increase. So if anybody is trying to do something, that is the reason why the government announced a formation of a committee, right? It says furthermore, in order to assist easy and seamless imports, the government has eliminated the 10% charge on tuar imports from non-LDC countries also, as the levy imposes procedural impediments even for zero duty imports from LDC nations. See, try to understand. Whenever you are importing any product, by a basic rule, understand it has to face two things. One, it has to face the process, it has to face the duty or the tax. इसमें लिए कोई क्या बोलते हैं, this is the basic structure of any import. Now the only way to reduce this, you can reduce this or remove this, but you cannot reduce this. That's the challenge. So it will go through the entire process even if this is zero. Duty or taxes, even if it is zero, the process would remain the same. It is only that the goods will not be allowed to be what you call carried forward from the port to the mainland unless and until the customs duty is paid. It means that the process of unloading, stocking, checking remains the same. It is only a matter of paying a particular duty only. So that is the reason why whenever you are importing a product, if you really want to trouble that country who is exporting something to you, you complexify this problem. This is what European Union does with India. What they do, they bring in quality control measures called sanitary and phytosanitary measures. Sanitary and phytosanitary measures, SPM measures. They will say, okay, our quality control inspector will come, he will check the quality, he comes, he checks, then they will say, okay, he has taken a sample, he will take the sample to the lab, then the lab report will come, after that I will clear your goods. When will he go, when will this sample will be submitted, when will the lab report come, when will he give the orders to you. So these are all techniques to complexify also to your system. So you need to understand, in order to assist easy and seamless imports, now whatever government is doing, it is trying to assist and do this import process seamless. What it has done, the government has eliminated the 10% charge on the tuar dal imported from the non-LDCs. Who are these LDCs? Least developed countries. Even from the non-LDC countries, whatever 10% of the customs duty was there on the tuar dal has been removed by the government. And not only this, procedural formalities also have been made more seamless, What is the purpose of all these things? The purpose of all these things is to control the supply, Why? Because demand has remained constant. Because of some people doing some fine acts, the supply got reduced. How to ease the supply? Immediately make the process seamless, immediately reduce the cost so that the supply can be augmented and the price can be equilibrated. That is the purpose. So try to understand the larger picture what the government is trying to do. Okay? What are essential commodities and all? It is self-explanatory. You have already read about this. Nalco bark, bauxite CRM, India's first bauxite certified reference material. Bauxite CRM, certified reference material. And who has done this? Baba Atomic Research Center, NALCO, along with National Aluminium Company Limited, the Navaratna CPSCs. I told you there are Navaratnas, Mini Ratnas, Maharatnas, all these categories. I told you one day to make homework of all the items, very important. So the NALCO, which happens to be a Navaratna central public sector entity under the Ministry of Mines and country's leading manufacturer and exporter of alumina and aluminium, has successfully developed a bauxite certified reference material naming as BARC B1201 in joint collaboration with the Baba Atomic Research Center. This is the first of its kind CRM in India and the fifth in the world. The CRMs are blocks of metal that come with certificates indicating the concentration of various constituent elements along with their uncertainty levels. So very important. It is basically, it certifies what? Concentration of what? Concentration of various constituent elements. Various constituent elements. So this is part of this. It has given certificate to how many? 9 property values related bauxite material, CRM, the certified reference material for 9 different categories of bauxite materials. This it has given. So these are the current affairs for this particular week.